Welcome to the August 14th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
Old Man Stompy.
Minty Mitz.
Whoa.
Man.
4 people.
Foursome.
We will not be doing that today.
Well, we could all hope for Saturday when we all get together.
I have to leave early. I'm not actually kidding. So on Saturday is we are having a get together, but I'm leaving to go to a wrestling event, which is pretty much how the podcast usually goes. Like I just show up to usually I show up and I can't stop talking about wrestling, but now I'm leaving everybody to go do wrestling by myself.
Which wrestling event are you going to?
I am going to NXT Brooklyn. I also went last year. So SummerSlam, the big summer WWF event is at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And the day before that, they host an NXT event. And I tend to prefer the wrestling on the NXT. It's more targeted towards like the hardcore crowd. It doesn't have like the corporate stink of usual WWF. So it's very enjoyable to watch. It's also a very succinct show. It's only like 2 hours.
How is NXT related? I forget.
NXT, so it used to be the developmental brand for WWF, but it still is, like, guys that they sign and that they have to teach the WWF method tend to show up in NXT first, but it's like the minor leagues.
I gotcha.
The thing is, there's so many, like, great independent wrestlers, and they started to recruit from Japan and from Mexico a little bit more aggressively than they used to in the last few years, that these guys who are coming in, they're basically superstars already.
Okay.
And they're like
Gotcha.
really well-known names, so like it's nice to watch them in NXT do their thing. But on the caliber of presentation that the WWF can provide that you don't usually get in the Indies.
So essentially, what you're saying is they have the show, but not the production, huh?
Imagine if Neil Breen had a budget.
He'd probably just do more shitty effects.
Yeah, it's not bad, you know.
I know. I was just being a little cute, but like
I do want to imagine Neil Breen with a budget.
Oh my god.
He's got a 5th movie coming out, Twisted Pair, where he has a twin with a beard.
Do we ever know where, like, how much money he spends on these things?
I don't know.
I could probably make that movie. Like. I could probably fund that movie. I wouldn't, but...
What's funny is he keeps making them, so somewhere they're making money somewhere. It could be a producer situation where, he like, raises the money and it, like, it's totally, like throwing the show.
Who should I make the check out to? I'll make it out to Cash.
I feel like I have a pretty regular job, but I could probably, like, highball him not to make the movie.
Gee, I wonder if it'll be the same movie again.
You're pretty sure you might have to watch it in a group setting at some point?
No,
that is the only way I can
a group setting it didn't work at all. Like, you gotta watch it with, like, 1 or 2 friends. A group setting, just... The pass-through was just a miserable experience at MagFest because nobody was paying attention.
Yeah.
That's the part that bothers you about the movie.
Yeah, so I wanted to watch the damn movie. If I wanted to hang out with the group and not watch a movie, I would do anything else at MagFest.
Well, Vampire's Kiss was, I think, perfect when we watched that. So
yeah, but again, it was a small group, and we were all there for the movie.
We didn't talk about Vampire's Kiss on the last episode. We should.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we should move on to what happened this week in gaming. So I'll first of all state that. The big thing was Smash Brothers, and I think we're going to dedicate all of CoreCon to that. So, if you're thinking about tuning into our discussion on Smash Brothers, please fast forward to Thursday.
We're going to be doing a 48-hour stream.
Just take a bunch of Valium, knock yourself out, wake up on Thursday.
Yeah.
Take a sick day from work on Wednesday.
There we go.
You guys know what's important. I trust. I do want to talk about a couple new releases, not just because they're new releases, but like I think that they're like culturally relevant right now. So the first two being I also picked these up recently. Dead Cells came out on every system essentially, and also Salt and Sanctuary came out on the Switch. It's been out for a while on the other systems, but man, Souls-likes are like really big right now, like really big, and especially the 2D ones, and Enter the Gungeon.
Well, that's a roguelike.
Yeah, but it has its Souls-like aspects. But Dead Cells and Salt and Sanctuary are both have roguelike elements as well. So they're kind of all blending together now.
Oh, here's a weird little fun fact. I accomplished something that I honestly never really thought I would on Sunday night, which is I actually beat Baroque.
Oh, man.
I reached the end credits of Baroque. That's the thing that can happen. Game's freaking hard.
Wow. How many times did you face the last boss?
I mean, what does that mean? Like,
oh, I didn't even know. I don't know.
The game doesn't have bosses. There are no bosses.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can step on certain tiles that I never actually encountered because they're rare. I think I've only ever encountered one once, where it takes you to much harder meta beings. Because like each of the enemies in the game corresponds to a tarot card, but you could teleport really rarely to way harder meta beings that corresponds to the, I forgot what they're called, but the extra tarot cards, like the cups, the swords, and I was just like, oh shit, those things freaking destroyed me.
Wow. So, what do you think of Baroque now that you've beaten it?
About the same as what I thought of it when I first played it. It's like impossible to figure out unless you use a guide, unless you just hack away at it for fucking ever. But the actual gameplay, if you know what to do, is reasonable, but it's probably best to save on literally every floor.
I can't even think of what the end game for that game would be. Like,
well, as you play through, you get a little more plot, and every time you go through the tower, if you make it to the end, you reach the absolute god, at which point you're supposed to either shoot her with a rifle or just walk up to her and see what happens, and the end of the game is doing that again after you've done all the previous plot stuff.
I don't think you can kill God with a gun very easily. It doesn't sound like it's...
That's not the point.
If you ask the Saint of Killers and Preacher, then you can definitely do it.
No, but that's not the point. In Baroque, the whole problem, one of the big problems with the universe is that pain has been removed from pretty much everything, including the absolute God, and you kind of need to have at least a degree of pain and suffering in order to not lose your mind. So
it's like the Matrix, the original version of the Matrix. Like, it was too happy, so
yeah, everyone flipped out. Yeah, so like you have to shoot her with this ampoule that contains basically purified pain, or walk up with her and do something different. But yeah, those are your options.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you guys know anything about Dead Cells? I assume you know a little bit about Salt and Sanctuary.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if I could get a limited run games release of that.
Okay, so I started playing a little bit of Salt and Sanctuary now that's on the Switch because the Switch is basically my main system now, and it is just basically 2D Dark Souls. Like it is it to a T. It feels like it. Yeah, Salt and Sanctuary, yeah.
Yeah, I did hear about that. I look forward to playing that.
Yeah, so it's really good, but, I mean, it is more authentically a Metroidvania because it's laid out like a 2D one, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's not unreasonable. Dark Souls is kind of a 3D Metroidvania.
It is. Now, Dead Cells is another take on it. It's kind of like if you combined Dark Souls with a roguelike. It's similar to Enter the Gungeon in that you do a run every time you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any like footage of Dead Cells?
No.
Okay, so essentially it's like Enter the Gungeon in that your progress is what you unlock on each run, and I assume that you could beat the game at some point, but also still have a whole bunch of stuff to unlock. So you're not really done until you're all unlocked. So
it's basically Isaac. Then you keep going through and getting stuff, and then trying again with more potential.
Correct. So Isaac though, does that have brand new items as you play it? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the whole point. You start the game with like 30 or 40 items, and there's like hundreds.
That's sort of what has now become a genre called roguelite, and the idea is that so in the original roguelike games, when you died, that was it. You started over again, and there was no evidence that you had ever played the game, aside from maybe a counter on your PC. But in roguelite games, you have some like meta progress that saves itself in the sense of that you either expand the dungeon or you unlock new items that make progress easier or sometimes harder. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Binding
Sonic's
of Isaac
Adventure
was like
2?
the... I'm sorry?
Kind of like Sonic's Adventure 2.
Well, it's not a roguelike, but yes, like progress in that sense that you unlock like more levels by beating levels.
And you can listen to Pumpkin Hill all you want. And I search and I search and I search and I search.
And Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles.
It is.
But Dead Cells is really great. I'm actually liking it even more than Salt and Sanctuary, I guess, because it hits my Enter the Gungeon itch, which I'm like really into still. I've beaten Enter the Gungeon with just the Marine, but I consider that a big triumph. So I'm not going to I'm going to casually play the game, but I'm not going to hardcore play the game as much anymore. I could sit there and beat the game with all the characters and do everything there is to do.
Eventually it'll feel like work.
Forever. Yeah, so if I just have like a couple minutes, maybe I might try a run and Enter the Gungeon to unlock something else.
That's kind of where I am with Isaac right now. I actually did everything with the Forgotten, and I have like 10 achievements left, but they're not even like difficult in terms of skill to get. They're just really unlikely to get. Like, increase in size 5 times in one run, which means eating like at least 4 get bigger pills. And it's like, when am I going to find that in one run,
So this is like pretty easy to do if you had started playing the game from like complete tabula rasa, right? And
when there's like no item pool.
Likely that you would have wound up doing it. But the fact that you and I both came back to the game for this new patch that had all these achievements after we'd already kind of completed it. So to reframe things, there was a new a series of booster packs for Binding of Isaac, and we hadn't really talked about it for a while after Lotus Prince finished platinuming Afterbirth Plus.
Yeah.
But it kind of put a bow on the game. They actually hired some developers who had made a really nice mod for the original Binding of Isaac Rebirth, and they had them create some new enemies and content for the game, and they really wrapped up the latest expansion really nicely with a new character and a whole bunch of new achievements. And all the items they added from in the booster packs that were Steam Workshop mods that they made official, they also gave unlock conditions too, which are kind of arbitrary.
The unlock conditions are annoying in some cases too.
Mm-hmm. There are things that you probably would have done, and even some things the damageless runs now unlock an item when they used to only give you a little achievement, and I think you have to do it a second time now.
No, I don't think so. I don't see any achievements that I'm missing that require damageless runs. I think that's covered.
All right. Well, anyway, so you get an item for that now, along with some other really trivial things.
Yeah, I mean, what is annoying is that there's an item that says beat I think it's just beat 7 daily challenges, and I absolutely beat 2 since I did the achievement for beating 5 in a row. So where's my unlock? So I guess I have to do 5 more or something. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it gets very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's in a row this time, but I still don't like the daily challenges as a mandatory requirement.
Minty Mitz can attest to how tense I got when I was playing that 5th daily challenge in a row.
Oh, it's horrible, yeah.
That was actually what caused us to diverge, because Lotus beat the 5th one in a row the first time when I died on the same streak, because I had let him know that the first one was really easy, and I think the second one was likely to be easy. I had given him a tip that now is a good time to do it. And he made it, and I died late in the 5th run, and I got really mad.
Dying in the 5th run blows, because not only do you have to wait until tomorrow to even try to start again, but assuming you're perfect, it's still 5 more days. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to this in Dead Cells, because Dead Cells has daily challenges as well. But I don't think you have to do them in a row like that.
Yeah, that's just not cool.
But you do have to do a certain. You have to be successful with a certain number of the challenges, and as you go along in order to unlock things.
Yeah.
So, I'll explain Dead Cells for our listeners that don't know. Oh, by the way, Binding of Isaac, they just teased the update to the Switch version. So
Yeah, finally.
yeah, hopefully they'll add the quick restart button.
No, seriously,
the
like,
game.
if I had not started Isaac at all, and it was like choose a platform, the lack of a restart button on the Switch would be a deal breaker for me. Like, I cannot play that game without the quick restart button. It's like, there's just no way. If you plan to platinum it, like, there's no goddamn way I'm even doing that without a restart button.
I think it'll happen because Nicholas has been listening to people, so...
it's like the most important button in the game.
Well, they haven't... They for once they have been listening to people, though. I do have to say that they're only really supporting the Switch. They're not caring about the other consoles, which is kind of a shame.
Well, the Vita couldn't support it anyway, but the PS4, yeah, what, are they just giving up on it?
That's what I'm saying. The PS4 and Xbox One updates probably aren't going to come for a while.
That's so obnoxious.
Yeah, and the 3DS, is never getting an update, I don't think. So,
well, I mean, if the Vita can't handle it, then what the hell chance does the 3DS have?
The 3DS can barely handle the game at all. Like,
I know.
At least the Vita can handle it with slowdowns.
The 3DS can't handle official Nintendo
constantly.
games made for it, like fucking Hyrule Warriors Legends. Good luck with, like, infinite permutation Binding of Isaac.
Good point.
Yeah.
But, what I was going to talk about with Dead Cells is essentially you go on a run each time and you unlock blueprints. And the blueprints will you hand them to a collector in between each stage.
Mm-hmm.
So each run, each stage, each time you go through it, the map is different, like any roguelike.
Yeah.
However, the progress is the blueprints. Which you bring to the collector, who's basically death, in between each stage. Now, you also make other progress by trading in cells, which are essentially just Dark Souls.
Okay, yeah.
You lose your progress with those things during the stage, though. So if you die, so you have to complete the stage that you're in order to make that progress. Collecting the blueprint is just part of what you need to do. You need to beat the level that you're currently on and hand it to the collector. So, and then from there, the blueprint needs to be unlocked by a certain number of souls. Or cells. So, it's really cool, though, because there are... You unlock permanent abilities too, so there will be areas that you just can't go in like the first level, for instance, because you don't have those abilities yet. It's like a true Metroidvania in that way. The ability that you need may be in the third or fourth level, but you need to get there first in order to get to that section. But what's cool is that section would either have a blueprint in it, or it may diverge and have a different set of levels for you to go to, which is really neat. So the game is really good. It's very fluid. It doesn't feel very weighty like Salt and Sanctuary does, and Dark Souls and Demon Souls do. You feel real beefy in those games. With the way that you dodge roll.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's real snappy, and there's dodge rolling in the game, but it's the fighting is, I would say, is less deliberate. It's more forgiving, but there's tons of enemies, and the real challenge comes from when multiple types of enemies are on the screen at the same time, and you have to manage them all. It's kind of like Enter the Gungeon in that way. And it's also like Enter the Gungeon in that there are different things you may want to accomplish during a run. You may not always want to just go forward and collect blueprints. Of course, you want to keep doing that, but what you may want to do on a certain run is there are timed doors in every successive level besides one. So if you go get to level 2 too late, that door will already be closed by the time you get to it. Mm-hmm. And behind that door is unique blueprints and extra cells and other stuff and extra money. So it's really neat. Like if you say, hey, what I want to do now is get past a bunch of gates, timed gates. Basically, you have to forego a lot of exploring.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, I need to book it to wherever the hell the end is in this level.
Yeah, that's like Isaac unlocking the Forsaken. Like, that better be the only thing you concentrate on, because you're getting bombed, like, for, like, 95% of the run.
I mean, in Enter the Gungeon, I'm still trying to tote the computer monitor around in order to get to unlock the robot.
Sure.
Because when you're doing that, you basically only have to concentrate on only that.
Yeah.
Because it takes up your item slot, and you also have to throw it around, and like you have to make special concessions for it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a big pain in the ass, and you can mess up very easily with it. So you can leave it in a room by accident. I've done that before, and the rat will take it. So it's just really fun. Both these games are great, but I'm maining Dead Cells and Dark Souls right now. If that's confusing.
Well, I'm sure it's intentional. I'm sure they chose that name very carefully.
Yeah. Oh no. I'm sure it's a play on words. And Dark Souls, right now, I am trying to fight that butterfly in the Midnight Garden.
Oh, well, the funny thing with the butterfly is that it is a joke if you know what to do. All you do...
Really?
It is embarrassingly easy. All you do is use some humanity to go to human form, and you know how you could summon help? There's someone, I think, at the base of the stone stairs that lead up to the butterfly. There's like a symbol for her. Summon her. She's a sorceress.
Do I have to unlock her first, or
no,
can I just summon
if
her?
you're human,
she's just there.
yeah, if you're human, then you see her summon sign.
Oh.
Summon her, and then she's a sorceress. She just beats the shit out of the butterfly until it finally lands in melee range, and by that time it's got like no health, and you just wail on it. Like with her, it's a freaking joke. Yeah, like with
Beatrice.
Yeah, Beatrice. With Beatrice, that fight is embarrassingly easy. Without her, if you're not a sorcerer, it's so bad.
Okay, so
yeah,
I was gonna build up and getting a whole bunch of arrows and like crossbow bolts, but I guess
oh fuck that. Like it's you
Okay.
don't deal damage with arrows and crossbow bolts over time unless you can guarantee the hits every single time.
I have to say this game is a lot easier with the summons. Like and you don't get punished for using them at all. Why would you
there
not
is
use them?
one fight where you kind of get punished for using a summon, but it might still be worth it. But that'll be later.
Really?
Yeah, like there's a boss where the gimmick is it spawns another friend and another friend up until there are 4 of them, and if you summon, then the spawn rate is a little faster. So if you're OP, then it won't matter, but if you're not, you might just be like, oh shit, there's 2 of them. Oh, there's 3 of them.
Gotcha. It still might be worth it in order to distract everybody and
Yeah,
have them like go towards your summon.
In my previous runs, it was so not worth it. In my latest run, it actually paid off.
Okay, because when I had Solaire, man,
Solaire hits like a truck.
Yeah, I fought the gargoyles and I didn't have any problem at all with them. I only fought them twice, and the first time I fought them, I didn't have Solaire, so
Yeah.
like I killed them the second time around very easily. In fact,
Yep.
I don't even think I drank Estus at all, or maybe once.
The gargoyles were my first gatekeeper boss. I just couldn't beat them until after a million tries, and on later runs, they were like, even when I was playing on the PS4, so I had to start everything afresh, I beat the shit out of them. I was like, oh, this wasn't so bad.
Yeah. So, the only other thing I wanted to mention this week, before we move on to, other things here, I did want to quick plug my I know we don't do too many things that are personal now, but I did want to talk about my my joystick. I finally finished it.
Hey.
Vice,
because
that's lewd.
I've been talking about it so much on previous podcasts, and I've been doing it for about a year that like I feel like I owe it at least to myself to have a recorded audio log of finishing it. But it's so far gotten me the most attention that I've ever gotten on Twitter, which is kind of funny. But I've been doing a podcast here for 2 years, and This turned out to be the exciting thing. Well, you know what I did? You know what I did was I tagged every manufacturer involved in it.
Oh yeah, there you
So
go.
So I tagged Focus Attack. I tagged Jason, of course, from Jason's Customs, because his Easy board is in it. I tagged Brooke. I tagged Treasure even because
because Ikaruga.
it's an Ikaruga theme. So a lot of people latched onto it and were asking me questions on how I did it and all this stuff. It was really pretty cool. I recommend anybody who's interested in taking a look at it go on to Twitter and look at the at my Twitter account on vysethebold at vysethebold. I on Twitter.
Okay, we're done.
But I put two-tone buttons on it, black rim with white buttons, and black and white mesh ball top, and some really nice custom artwork that my friend Drew helped. He made it, so I shouldn't say he helped. He made it with creative input from me. I basically told him what I wanted, but he really actualized what I wanted, which is cool. It has the Player One ship, the logo, and then Ikaruga under that, and then the outline of the second player over black, so it looks like it's the black. It's in black mode. Which is awesome. I'm really proud of how this got put together. It's a finished stick. I don't really want to do anything else to it. I have a Saimitsu joystick in it. I'm just so thrilled to have it done because I've had this idea for a really long time, and people seem to really like it. It's really nice and clean looking, and I'm glad with how it came together. I'm glad also to be doing a second stick here with the retro board from Jason. So I'll talk more about that, but that's going to be Donpachi themed. So stay tuned for that. So I think you guys wanted to talk a bit about Gen Con. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that is what we were advertised for this episode for. So
Yeah.
we're happy to take it away. So
Go for it.
Yeah. So the reason I was sort of inspired to spend some of our vacation time on Gen Con this year was, one, we had never been there and it sounded like a lot of fun, simply put. But two was that it was Gen Con is the birthplace of Magic the Gathering. So the first set alpha was debuted to the public on August 5th, 1993 at Gen Con. And to celebrate that 25th anniversary, they were running, as part of the birthday party, a draft of the original beta set.
Oh damn.
Neat.
So
That's insane.
Yes, it is. So they ran 5 of these, and 4 of them were attached. They ran one other beta draft in Las Vegas, and 3 unlimited drafts, including one in Japan where they actually did open a Black Lotus.
Oh shit.
Which is pretty exciting. And so they had... So a draft in Magic is 8 players, so they had 8 qualifying tournaments to win a seat at the draft table throughout all of Gen Con. So I went and I signed up for 3 of them, and I was there with people who would sign up for one, get 1 loss, because they were firing so fast they were basically single elimination for 8 rounds, which is pretty intense. And so people would get their first loss and they would immediately go back to the booth and sign up on the standby list for the next one, because they were all sold out all the way to the end of Gen Con. Obviously, I think they were capped at 256 players. There were a lot of people gunning for these 8 seats. I did not win one, or else this podcast would be probably much more interesting. But I did get to... The farthest I got was the 5th round of one of them. I think that was a 9-round single elimination. So it was sealed deck, so sometimes you just don't open anything good. And it's if you have garbage, it's pretty hard to make a lot of headway. One of the sets I had to open for one of them was this set called Masters 25, which is almost this hodgepodge of historically interesting cards from Magic's history. They picked at least one card from every single Magic release ever.
That's cool.
And it's really cool.
They were all planes.
Yeah, if you look at it all laid out, it's really awesome. But actually trying to play the set, it has no coherence whatsoever as a limited format.
Yeah.
It's all based on these weird 2-card combos, not like Channel Fireball, but newer 2-card interesting combos that don't win you the game on the spot but are very powerful. And if you open one of those combos but not the other card, then your sealed pool is a mess because they usually are pretty weak. Like, cards that make a combo tend to be pretty unexciting on their own. So you wind up, and you know, of course, in a limited deck, you're not guaranteed to have a lot of like card draw or filtering. Not a lot of ways to search through your deck to find your pieces of the combo. So like a lot of games boil down to like whether or not you drew your singleton that synergizes with the rest of your deck. It wasn't really all that fun. Thankfully, I lost in like the second round. I didn't have to worry about it too much. I just picked up my cards and I went home.
Yeah.
Like back to the hotel for the next day Gen Con. But otherwise, the rest of the con was fantastic. So it's in Indianapolis. The first Gen Con I think was in 1967. I think this is the 51st year they've been running it. So it's been around for a really long time. Previously we as a group used to go to MagFest, Con Bravo, all these like fan cons, Otakon, Anime Expo. Some of us went to that. Anime Next in New Jersey. All these anime conventions. These all skew like really young because these cons just haven't been around for more than like 15 years or so at the most.
Yeah.
PAX is another one. They're all gaming cons in different flavors or entertainment cons. I guess we've been to New York Comic Con. That's been around for a long time, but we don't really go to that very often.
Yeah.
And it's become more of a hassle after it got bought out by Repop. Plus, like, New York is not super friendly to conventions besides NYCC. At least not fan cons.
So basically, this was a scouting mission.
Yes, this is a scouting mission for us to report back to you guys and also to our loyal viewers. So I will say that, like this is the biggest thing that happens in Indianapolis besides the football. You know, like... Indianapolis is not a big city. We drove across the whole city in like 25 minutes.
Indy 500, right?
Yeah, the Indy 500. I mean, that is still there.
Yeah.
The con takes place at the Indiana Convention Center, which is right next to Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Indianapolis Colts play that hosted the Super Bowl at one point.
Okay.
And the entire floor of the football field was taken over by half of it was like the free play area.
Oh, that's nuts.
And the other half was like a kids area, which we thought was really cool. Mitz, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. I mean, like, I was very happy to find that the age group for this convention was kind of people of our age bracket, like late 20s, 30s, and above. Some of the congoers have children, and whenever I feel like they really cater toward it, like the people would play board games if they got a little too excited or something, or they needed a quiet area. They actually had those type of things set up.
That's pretty nice.
Just so the kids were like either relax or the parents relax, or parents would do this. It was like very kid friendly. I didn't see any like issues that happen with like younger conventions where like somebody just acts out of place or out of nowhere and just like ruins a lot of things for like people who go next year or get like give the hotels bad reputation and such, right? So it feels like this is like a very more mature kind of convention. I thought MagFest was kind of like that too, but kind of I think Katsukan kind of mixed into it. People heard that it was a great convention, and then you got younger crowds mixing in. But this is like a very like calm.
Yeah, that's not surprising. Like, as Old Man Stompy said, it's an old con, and I remember, like, isn't it? Well, I mean, maybe not anymore, but like, wasn't it like a Dungeons and Dragons con back in the day? Like,
I would suspect so. I mean, like, so it's been around for 50 years, and they're, aside from like miniature gaming, collectible card gaming didn't really exist. We didn't have the Euro board gaming.
They probably had war games back then, like Axis
the Hexes stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of it too.
Axis and Allies is like the lowest level of wargaming. So that was another part of the stadium. They had like all the miniatures setups, all the the battlefields, like all these like really nice custom battlefields with like foam painted rocks and like cities and.
Oh, so what you're saying is they had hero clicks.
Yes, they had Beyblade in the stadium too. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, they had like
Beyblade's the
like
best.
certain sections were
just giant fucking Beyblades came out of the top of the stadium and dropped right on the football field.
They're knocking people over.
Yeah, everything.
That would
like,
actually be
just
fun.
So set up.
That would be. You'd think that they would use that at PAX. You know, like when you leave PAX, they say like you have to leave or you will be incinerated, and that would be a great way to get ejected from a con. Is just like knocked out by a fucking Beyblade.
Oh. It'd be kind of like that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark in the giant pinball machine in the mall.
Yes. Exactly like that.
Exactly like that.
And in a convention.
So, on top of the whole kid thing, like, so the other side of the Lucas Oil Stadium, it was all for kids, and we didn't know that when we came in. We were all getting ready to play because it looked so cool. It was like all kids games, and then like box forts, and then like Nerf weapons, and then like laser tag. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing! This is way better than any con I've ever been to."
And then you're like you're pushing all the little kids over to get in. Or no, it's like The Simpsons, like Old Man Stompy. This is a game for children. And you're like, yeah, I'm beating their brains out.
I am the older, balder, fatter son.
Sorry, my son is also named Old Man Stompy.
Well, we don't have any kids of our own, so.
Yes, I want to have kids now just to be able to take them to this.
I'm just thinking that Seinfeld episode. Like, what happened to that one kid you pushed over? Like, I think I stepped on her arm.
It's like, was that when the house caught on fire?
Yeah, he like pushes the old lady out of the way and runs out the door like an asshole.
So this was like the one little bit of drama we had in the whole con is that we were like collecting these buttons that you could like if you found them all. Like I thought it was a promotional thing that they got you to go to all the major booths so that you could see all the stuff that the really big.
Those pins were really cool.
Yeah, they were awesome, but they were all given out at like major sponsor booths. Like one was in the middle of the stadium. One was at like CMON, which is like a really big board game manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And so we were looking for them and we were trying to collect. One was at the Czech Games, which makes Code Names and like a bunch of other like big Euro games.
Rio Grande.
Oh yeah, it was close to that. Czech Games and Rio Grande were right next to each other. So we went looking for them and we got like 5 or 6 of them. We were looking for the last one. And the guy at the 7th booth, I was like collecting the Infinity Stones, you know, I was like at the last booth trying to get the last button, and he's like, "Oh, these are actually for kids. We're not supposed to give them to you. We've started because we've got so many of them, you know. But apparently the day before, so this was Saturday night. No, this is Sunday morning, so it was like right at the end of the con, and we drove out to Indianapolis from New Jersey. So we had an 11-hour drive back. We couldn't like sit around and wait. The guy tells us like, "Oh, someone stole all the buttons last night and just like threw them into the crowd." And now we're not letting anybody touch them unless they're with a child.
Yo.
Wow.
So did you run away and come back with like a propeller hat and a lollipop?
The exact opposit of like us instead of kids like getting on their shoulders and putting a trench coat on. Yeah. I just got down on my knees and put it back on.
Oh god.
You're just like sucking your thumb, like, please, sir.
I just came back an hour and a half later and asked somebody else.
Okay.
The world's oldest baby.
Yes. That will still be the case. I'm only getting older.
Old man baby.
Yes.
But the other things that I did while
Old man's day out.
While Old Man Baby was...
Boss Old Man Stompy.
Boss Old Man Stompy. Old Man Stompy driver.
I actually went around and I saw a friend that I haven't seen in a long time. I was very surprised to see her and her boyfriend.
But how do you know they were coming?
I didn't know they were coming. We were just in the car, and then I looked at the GPS, and we're like that. We're close enough to say that like we kind of have each other on Google Maps and such. So I saw her on the Google Map at the end of the destination that we're at, the convention center, and we were like, oh, she's going.
We were stalking them via Google Maps. So
why didn't you just like say hi instead of like being weird?
Well, I mean, we were like several hours away at that point. So they're morning people and we are not, and they're also coming from closer than we were.
Gotcha.
So like they were already there, like in Indianapolis. They must have been going to Gen Con. I cannot have imagined why else they would have been in Indianapolis, especially like on the road, the same highway that we were traveling.
Yep.
So like we were traveling through West Virginia, like we had to go through all of Ohio to get there. And we saw them, and so Mitz was like, "Oh my god, I know these people," and starts texting them, and they're like, "How do you know where we are? That's creepy."
Yup.
But it turned out to be really helpful because I was playing Magic for like several hours of the day, and Mitz's job was to like explore and find new board games and play Dark Souls board game for the first time, and and like get to do all
Test
these
games.
demos and to generally have a good time. But it helps a lot that we happen to know people who are there.
Speaking of Dark Souls, the board game, I heard that the makers of it, Steamforged, also showed like a test run of the Resident Evil 2 board game. Did you see that at all?
Did you get a chance?
No.
I must say, it wasn't my genre to look around like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it.
All right. Well,
You
I
might
look forward to when
have,
that comes in anyway.
Yep. It is part of what I like about these trade shows is that like the trade show floors. I mean, it's not as like open and like as wild as a fan con like MagFest, but like the trade floors, they seem to be like a lot cleaner. Like the exhibit halls, they tend to be a lot fancier, and they do a lot of demos. So I think our friends, the ones that we were talking about before, I think they said they played like 23 different board games.
Yo.
Over the course of the 4 days. And like you could just sit down at almost any booth, and even if they weren't selling the game actively, they would just show you some of their work, and you get to what was it,
Yeah.
Bear Park?
Bear Park, and there was like Patchwork Quill. There was like some sort of game, a whole bunch of game gizmos.
Gizmos. So
Gizmos.
Gizmos is supposed to be like Splendor, which is like a resource collection game where you get gems
Yeah.
and you trade them for influence.
Oh, I
Except
was getting
it's
excited
science.
because my girlfriend really loves Gizmo from Gremlins, so I thought that was a thing.
This has nothing to do with that. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
but
actually,
we'll bring the game over.
someone has made a game on Big Trouble in Little China, which is like, kind of
What?
insane. Like,
Yep.
So
was
is
surprised,
it
like-
one of those games
Yeah,
where if you're not
advertising.
back in an hour, then call the president?
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, clearly there must be. I didn't actually play the demo, but clearly there must be a card that says that. I mean, there are only so many signature moments from the movie, so
If-
and
if
it's
you- if
like
you
it's
get
only
a-
one movie.
If you get a big
saw the
monster
poster
breathing
and
down
it
your
was-
neck asking if you paid your dues, do you tell him the check is in the mail?
I
Wow.
saw that.
I still need to watch that movie.
That
I've
movie's
never seen it.
great, dude. It's a
I
John
love John
Carpenter, Kurt
movies,
Russell
and
movie.
I love Kurt Russell's.
was,
So I need to watch it.
It's quite the movie.
That movie's a fucking
Especially
riot.
if you understand Cantonese.
Also,
It's
it's
like,
the
I understand.
it has the inspiration for Raiden from Mortal Kombat, like a guy with the brim straw hat with like the lightning powers.
Yep.
Do they
I mean-
explain why there's a bunch of Japanese in Little China?
Yes,
Wasn't it?
I don't
They do?
no, I didn't read the deep lore for that movie.
Wasn't it Chinese in Little China though? Was it actually a Japanese thing?
She said it was Japanese.
No, she
I
said she said
it's
Cantonese.
Cantonese.
Oh, Cantonese.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jesus, there are Chinese people in Little China.
Well, in
But they
in
speak
Philly,
Cantonese. So I
in
understand.
Philly,
And the
Philadelphia-
asshole who wanted Jason Statham's heart from Crank 2.
in Philadelphia,
He's like the villain of the movie.
Chinatown's a misnomer. It should be Asian Town because it has all the other Asian cultures in it as well. So
Not Korea, 'cause there's K-Town.
no, we actually have Bonchon in Chinatown now, so
Oh, man.
it's officially K Town
Huh.
as well.
Right. So in New York, there's an actual K town, but it's mostly just like one street.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. I was
mostly
referring to New
Chinese.
York K-Town. Yeah.
Well, in Philadelphia, it's still really cool. It's still pretty vibrant, our Chinatown. So that's I definitely recommend it.
Do you think there's
So-
even bigger trouble in even littler China?
We actually went to the Philadelphia Chinatown
Okay.
Wow.
in the snowstorm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
this was quite some time ago.
This is a story for another time.
During last
Yeah.
winter, one of her friends had a birthday party. They were in Atlantic City, and we were up in North Jersey. And so they had a really easy trip out to Philadelphia, and we had to go all the way like an hour in a blizzard.
Well,
But we did
That's
it,
crazy.
and we survived. Spoiler alert.
yeah. I was just about to ask, like, did you survive?
So one other thing I'd like to kind of mention that I'd just like to take as a lesson for other conventions. So like, Gen Con is pretty big for an American convention. I don't want to be too Amerocentric because I know that like even the largest American convention is like not in the top 10 of like worldwide fan conventions. Like
Yeah.
SCCC is like way smaller than like Comic-Con. So let's get a sense of
Comic-Con's a
scale here.
universe of its own.
Right. So this is a pretty big con, but they did a really good job of answering like my least favorite question to worry about when I'm at a con, which is like, what the fuck am I going to eat like twice
Yeah.
to get a lunch and a dinner without bringing my own food if I can avoid it.
Not
so
Nando's both times.
They're actually, I didn't see a Nando's in Indianapolis. I probably should have looked a little harder because that would be just like, a piece of our memorabilia that I would love to take with me to every con that I go to and just have Nando's all the time.
Yes.
Shake my
Because there's been a Nando's. I mean, even when we moved out to Chicago for a while, there was a Nando's in Chicago, and we would go there all the time.
That's freaking great.
But
There's one in DC.
Yep. There's one in There's one near MagFest. There's one near Otakon. There's
Yeah.
one in Chicago near Wizard World. I did not check for one near Gen Con. But anyway, for food, they license like dozens of food trucks to line up in
That
this
is
courtyard.
That's really good thinking.
outside of
That's amazing.
and they rotate them. So there's like 24 that come in for the lunch shift, and then they announce they're leaving, and then 10 minutes later another 24
Not
come
10
in.
That's amazing.
30 minutes.
Well, it's
Like at 4 o'clock they have to clear out, and then the next shift comes in.
yeah, it's
What's
basically
that?
exactly as long as it takes them to click close up, get out, and the new set to come back in.
That's amazing.
So
That's really good.
we were
Really
never waiting for a restaurant. We were never online for more than like a few minutes. to
They
get
came
food.
to you.
Says you.
Well, I mean,
was the one that waited in line for all the food.
so Mitz played the support role while I was playing Magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say I never had to wait for
The game.
anything. She just walks up with food.
He didn't have to wait for
The service is amazing. I didn't even have to go to the food truck.
She slaved over a hot food truck just for
Yeah.
you.
It was pretty hot. It was like 95 out in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you have any favorites that were worth talking about?
The food trucks?
Yeah.
So, pierogies, yes, that was great. So I try to keep to the low sodium diet these days, but I made an exception for one pierogi. What else? So they had really good vegetarian Indian food. They had a really nice sampling. We also just went to P.F. Chang's once just to have it, just because we wanted something that wasn't from a food truck.
I had
Yeah.
jerk chicken,
Mostly
curry
P.F.
chicken.
Chang's.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a lot of fun. Did you wish you had done anything that you didn't do?
Well, yeah.
There are quite a few things I didn't know as a first-time Gen Con goer. So what it is that apparently when you do different, like, very crowded certain events, there are, like, tickets that you actually have to purchase for the event. Let's say, like, the very dedicated, like, long game of, like, somebody actually showing you how to play, like, a specific complicated board game. I think you have to purchase tickets for those. It could be free or it could be, like, $1 or $2. I actually don't know. Or general admission tickets that you purchase somewhere on the website to actually get into those events. I didn't know how the system works, but most of the good stuff they were already all taken. For those events, I kind of wish I knew more about. My friends told me that like they purchased like the tickets to like a 10 o'clock event where they had to like basically it was like a adventure game where they're like they go through like a setup maze or something like that, kind of almost like a escape room-esque type of thing. I wouldn't say it's an escape room. It's like an adventure.
It was under the bleachers at the stadium. They had like a whole like dungeon. So
Nice.
Yep.
It was called the True Dungeon, and our friends
That
they went
sounds
like twice.
great.
Yeah, it sounded like a lot of fun. We didn't know anything about it because I had built the whole weekend around the Magic, and we had kind of decided to go at the last minute because I wasn't sure until then if I would have like time off. So we didn't really get to scope out the things that we could have done during the hours I wasn't playing Magic.
Yeah, so it was like what was it? They went last year and they obtained like these tokens that had like potions or other potions and elixirs.
Kind of like the meta games they
clothing
have
cards.
at MagFest. You know, like the stuff you can collect.
Yeah.
During the con.
It's kind of like that, but different, but specifically for that event.
These are items for
These
your
are
inventory,
items
not
for
like
yourself.
the currency that you get in MagFest to buy things.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are like like you know in like Munchkin, the board game you collect pieces for your person. So it's like a team collective. Like whoever team you're with, you kind of trade potions, trade outfits or whatever via the tokens. And dress up your person, and you go through a dungeon basically like that. Like you have to use a potion, you use it, and then they mark off how much health you have now, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So they keep track of it like it's like a LARP almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
also,
gonna say it sounds like you have a character sheet almost. Like
Yes.
It's also intended for kids. I think you're supposed to
Yeah.
bring your kids to it. So like I think they were paired with a family on their dungeon party.
That sounds like fun. I love stuff like that, especially when they put like a lot of insane amount of effort into making like the con itself a lot of fun.
So, like, when I go, every time I look at a booth that I'm not currently participating in, I always think to myself, like, what's the time cost? This looks so cool. Like, could I get into this community? Could I get into this game? Like, what would it take, to, like, these, like, beautiful miniatures fields, these, like, beautiful war games fields, these, like, really nice, like, RPG setups, these, like, campaigns that they run. Like, what's the commitment that I have to make, and how can I, like, apportion my time? And it almost stresses me out a little bit, because I know I can't do everything. I want to make sure I get, like, a full day's in.
Yeah, that's the thing about like participating in contests is they're very time intensive if you're winning, or if you make any progress at all, really. So like at Magfest, I'm kind of glad that I don't do that kind of thing. I kind of just play arcade games and stuff like that because that's what I really want. I really want just like a casual.
Yeah, again,
Yeah,
like it's what we were saying about Dead Cells. Like I don't want to turn it into work. Like it's a vacation.
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool that they do have that kind of stuff for people that want take this as serious business.
Yeah.
I mean, Magic the Gathering is a lot of fun and like how you really don't have an opportunity for this kind of thing too often. So. Like,
yeah, actually, they don't run major tournaments in New York. Like, very rarely they run them in New Jersey and Philadelphia.
Weird. That's
I
so
think
weird.
It's just because of the event cost. Like, people who play Magic are used to globe trotting because they run like 40 tournaments a year all around the world, and there's a smaller tournament circuit that runs around the U.S. that you can like if you don't feel like becoming a world traveler or if you don't think it's worth the money. So there's no point in renting a venue in New York City. It's just too expensive.
There are lots of green decks all over the world.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's also like
you're a world warrior.
Bury
there's
me
also,
with
like,
my demonic tutor.
There's also like if you're like a trader, like for like businesses and stuff, they actually have tickets where you can also purchase to also get into those kind of conferences where they talk long hours about business and cons and etc. and markets and etc. pertaining to the congress, to like the convention.
Right. We're not journalists or trade employees yet. I don't think we qualify for that. Oh,
I
that'd be
think
pretty cool. They had some like really nice contests. Like they had a set up like card castles, like gigantic castles full of set up like stacks and stacks of cards, and you could bid to be the Godzilla that goes in and just like breaks the whole thing down.
That sounds fantastic.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
There was a balloon sculpture one too. Someone made like a UFO that was like at least like a UFO made of balloon sculptures that was like the size of that was like at least 3 times the size of the average person and like at least like 8 times across the size of a person. It was gigantic, and you could pop that. Although why would you want to? It's amazing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's like I just want to watch the world burn kind of.
I mean,
mentality.
inevitably, it's a balloon, right? So it's going to pop on its own.
Sure.
So, put it out of its misery. Balloons are really pathetic when they start to die.
My problem with that is the waste of helium. That's
No,
stupid.
they blow it up normally.
Oh, okay, good. All
That's
right.
good stuff.
Well, did you folks have any final remarks on Gen Con?
You should guys should all come with us one day.
I would like to go. I'm sure my girlfriend would like to sit that one out.
She would not want to sit that one out. She would enjoy it too.
She tolerates MagFest. I think that's the most mainstream. She might want to go to Comic-Con one of these days. She's talked about wanting to go to Comic-Con. I'd like to take her to San Diego just to show her the spectacle of it, but and I've never gone myself. But
Yeah, I was going to say, good luck not being able to go anywhere.
Yeah. She's expressed interest in Comic-Con because she likes the Marvel movies and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to torture her. Like, she takes me to the ballet every once in a while, but the ballet lasts 2 hours, not like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So I got to be kind to her. It's not an even trade-off to take her to something like this. Especially when I would like to just go just to learn something because like. Gen Con, I know Magic from way back when, but that was it. You know, I'm rusty on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather just go and play something new or watch somebody play something else at a high level, which will be a lot of fun.
So one final footnote, since it was the 25th anniversary of Magic, they ran something called the Silver Showcase, which was an invitational for like a bunch of top Magic professionals and like Hearthstone streamers who also played Magic. And it was like it was an invitational. It was like $150,000 prize for these 8 guys, and they also drafted beta plus Arabian Nights, Antiquities, and I think Legends. It was a much bigger draft, and someone actually opened a Scheherazade in the Arabian Nights pack, and the booth went insane. They were like, "Oh my god, are we gonna actually see somebody play it? Resolve a Scheherazade?"
Fuck
like,
that! Scheherazade is infuriating.
Well, a single Scheherazade is, whatever. You'll get it out of your system, and then you'll sideboard it out for the rest of the tournament, right?
Yeah.
But at the end,
what does that do again?
You literally set your entire game aside, and with the remaining half of your cut your deck in half or something, and play like another game of Magic, and then the loser of that game loses half of their remaining life in the main game. It's such a
pain
bitch.
in the ass.
Yeah.
So if that wasn't annoying enough, imagine you had like 4 of them in your deck, and also you had like ways.
Fork.
So there are cards that search for a card outside the game and bring it into the game, and a sub game is outside of the game. So you can just eternally loop Scheherazades for an entire tournament round, and you can never resolve the original game. So even though it doesn't do anything fundamentally against the rules of Magic or gambling laws or anything, or like Chaos Orb, the card that you have to throw onto the battlefield, that one's banned. Scheherazade is banned just because it's that much of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Wow, that just like that increases your game time twice by 2.
I play Commander, which is the format where you have 100 card decks. In that format, you better fucking believe Scheherazade has been banned for a long time.
Wow. Well, on that note, we'll just let the audience take that in and what the implications of that card. Jeez.
Yep.
Well, we will catch everybody on Thursday, where we'll talk about this big, awesome Smash Brothers announcement. This was probably one of the best Smash Brothers announcements. That's why we're keeping it to a full episode on CoreCon. So stay tuned for that. That's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness and YouTube SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. I'm also taking reading lessons, so I hope to get better. You can also catch us on Thursday, our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of Smash Brothers. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net. Definitely take a look on that Twitter post. It was something I was really proud of.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, next one coming up is Shadow Man, or getting involved on a Discord chat with all of the patrons and me, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Shadow the Hedgeman.
No, never. Ow, the edge.
And I'm Minty Mitz. You can find me frolicking around any
Final Fantasy 14.
Probably.
Yep, that's it. And 999.
And Dark Souls.
Well, you don't really frolic in Dark Souls in the tulips.
You can't frolic.
And cowering under the house in Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, in the chest.
In the chest. And you can find me as Old Man Stompy on most major social media and gaming networks except for Steam, where you can find me probably playing Monster Hunter World. JK, LOL. I'm actually just playing Animal Crossing. Monster Hunter sucks.
I just bought it, by the way.
Yeah.
well, I'm not responsible for your bad life decisions.
No, Mr. Ryu 45 is. All right, we'll catch you on Thursday, guys.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.